Good morning, Order. How you doing? I'm Corey, and I'm here with the great Matt. How you doing, Matt?
First time I've ever heard myself get called great, but I'm
You are
doing okay
great.
so far.
You know you are great. You're a great guy. Everybody should like you. Come on. If you
I
like Matt,
appreciate it.
hit the thumbs up button. If you don't like Matt, don't tell him. Don't. It'll hurt his feelings. So Matt does a lot of the art that we do on the channel, and he will make icons and tokens for us when we need them. Sometimes he's a really great guy like that, and we wanted him to look at some D&D logos throughout the ages. This is not a complete list of D&D logos, but hey, I thought it'd be fun to go through them and rank them in a tier list. Let's do a tier list, Matt.
All right, I'm open for it.
It's got to be fun. So this
Okay.
is the original D&D logo from the first book. It's been published on a couple of different books, actually, and
hmm
even a box set. It can be used in different colors, mainly, though, this red, black, and white.
From the look of it, it's really basic, but gets the job done.
Yeah,
It reminds me of like one of the Western fonts that they would use for wanted posters and all that stuff.
that's what I was
And I
thinking.
could,
I was like, this is like you're walking into the Dungeons and Dragons saloon. Howdy, partner. I'm here for some dragon and yeehaw, pshoo, pshoo.
from what I could tell, they only had a very limited like amount of resources to work with. So they had to work with what they got, and not gonna knock them for it.
Well,
But
that said, this is not like a computer age. This is the 1970s.
mhm,
So,
yeah,
yeah,
this is where they were slowly transitioning to use computers for most graphic design work, but it wasn't completely integrated at the time. So yeah, they probably used traditional printmaking methods in order to, make multiples of those.
I'd put it
Okay.
at either C or D.
hmm
Really? Where do you
Yeah,
think?
I would definitely say I would be nice in putting it in C, but considering that it's really bare bones,
It doesn't.
maybe D might be
Yeah, it
the
doesn't
right
say
place.
anything about Dungeons and Dragons. It doesn't give you the feel of the game that you're doing. Like the
hmm
box art has to do some heavy lifting to get you there. So this is the next Dungeons and Dragons logo. It's a lot of adventures had this, but it also became synonymous with like the red box, the B, the basic experienced masters, immortals. I don't know what it's called, challenger, those types of
hmm
box sets. What I like about this is that ampersand. I think that's one of the best ampersands for the Dungeons and Dragons logo of all of them. It's really interesting.
If
It gets the point across. Like you feel like the adventure with it because it looks like a big snaky dragon that's shooting fire for an
mhm.
ampersand. How cool is that?
Yep, it's finally getting that fantasy feel that they were trying to go for earlier, and they have a nice stroke going around. Well, the black of the font, and they have another like thinner black stroke, giving it some form of dimension, making it look like it's rising up and oh yeah, making it look like it's embossed on the packaging. But I do see some visual imperfections to it, where it does it is a little wobbly, but they essentially struck gold with that ampersand right there. So they have the right idea, and they're getting to the point to where it's having its own brand identity.
So is this B tier or C tier?
B tier, because that's where they're starting to find their
Yeah,
strength.
I'm looking at B tier 2 for this one. So the next books to come out were Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. It wasn't just Dungeons and
Mm-hmm.
Dragons, it was advanced, baby. This is a pretty nice logo. It's very clean. It has that like modern clean sensibility, it would either be black or white on the cover of the book. And it has that perfect ampersand on it too.
Plus, it also feels very balanced as well. Like especially keeping all of them in the middle, especially with advanced on top, dungeons to the right, and dragons. Oh, excuse me, dungeons to the left and dragons to the right,
Well,
and the ampersand in the middle.
if you look, Dungeons is above the ampersand and Dragons hides behind it a little.
Mm-hmm.
And that G is really like cool looking too.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is one of their best logos. I think the only thing that keeps it from being perfect is the word advanced kind of like hanging off the top of it up there.
So why did they call it Advanced Dungeons and Dragons instead of just continuing on with Dungeons and Dragons?
They want to make a more complicated system without excluding the people who like the original stuff. That's why they call it Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. I'm going to put this up in S tier. I love it a lot. I think it's an S tier logo. What do you think?
Yeah, I would think so too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it's
baby.
nice, it's clean. It's only like it's only got like one font color, and you can change it to any color you needed depending on like the background illustration that you're putting it on.
And it's got that modern minimalist appeal to it as well. The next one to come out was the second edition of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and here it is.
Hmm.
Look, it's almost the same.
Yeah, they just basically put a big old stroke around everything just to contain it. I'm personally not a fan of like contained logos like that. I do see some of the appeal, but it does knock down the quality a little bit from compared to like the first edition logo.
It feels very late 80s. It feels like Pepsi, the Pepsi of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Doesn't it?
Yeah, I would say so.
Like it's the Diet Right Cola Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. So how far down does this big blue thing and the red second edition, how far down does that pull this perfect logo?
It probably pulls it down like two ranks in my opinion. So I would
B?
probably put it in B tier.
B tier? I think that's a good
Mhm.
place for it. B tier. B tier for the Crystal Pepsi Advanced Dungeons and Dragons logo. So this is the next one. This is the same basic Dungeons and Dragons as all of the other basic Dungeons and Dragons logos.
Mhm.
But this came out when they were doing the Rule Cyclopedia. This was the last version of basic Dungeons and Dragons they ever put out. And I have to say that it's my favorite version of the ampersand with the dragon's little feet going, and it has that behind it is a wax seal. In this version of the logo that you're seeing here, this is a very simplistic version of it, but they really put detail into that wax seal.
Okay, like it's for me, it's very simplified. I'm wondering what the more advanced
I got a
logo
copy of
looks
the
like
book.
because oh, all right. So as Corey is looking for it, like for me, I feel like as a logo that they probably made it a little too over detailed with the banner. Personally, like if they left it with the wax seal, I would say that it's a pretty good one. But so since they added the banner and like the railing for the banner, I would say it kind of clusters the logo a little bit.
So the original when they first put it on,
Hmm.
this is what it looked like.
Okay, that looks a lot better.
Yeah, it
But
looks really great.
uh huh. Though the one that we have on screen does get knock it down a peg.
What do you think of the underlining of the logo? I think it looks really great.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a like a Jim Henson Labyrinth kind of vibe to the lettering, don't you think?
Yeah, it does.
Um,
Personally, for me, I probably would have seen this logo, like like, and now this is all in my imagination. Like, I would see this logo as the precursor to the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Like this is like before they got to like Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and then here is the step that they took afterwards. But since this came after Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, the book version that you showed me, I would put it in A tier. This version with the banner, I would probably put it in C tier.
So we'll put this in B tier then.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put this like it's you know what? I can do this. Boom. There.
Nice. Let's cheat the system a little bit.
Yeah. Advanced Dungeons and Dragons second edition revised. I guess this is the best screen grab I got of that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have this white around it. It's just red letterings Advanced Dungeons and Dragons with this big bar in between here.
Well, I mean, the ampersand just had a major downgrade.
Didn't it? It's so
Yeah.
bad.
Like, is this what you hired the guys in the graphic design team to like make? But then again, there is always the
It's
what was it called? The curse of the committee. Like essentially, like you have all these committee members wanting to make a change in the brand, and they're like, "Oh no, I like it this way. No, I want it this way," and they all can't agree on a certain design choice, while the design team themselves are just getting yanked by the collar of their shirts, going this way and that way until they can appease all of the committee members.
and I think they were trying to like let's make it appeal to everybody. Let's make it feel so generic that anybody could grasp it. And what they did was they pulled all of the fun out of it. C tier or D tier? Where are we going with this?
Oh man, not as bad as like the first one. I would probably put it in C
C
tier.
tier. Finally, they're ditching the advanced branding and they went right back to Dungeons and Dragons for Dungeons and Dragons 3rd edition and 3.5 edition. We're back to having a bit of fun with the logo. There's like a sword going through it. It's a big metal plate.
It has a good fantasy element going for it,
The
and the sword separates dungeons and dragon.
the ampersand gets lost, I think.
Yeah, it does. If only there was a way to make it stick out a little bit, so that way it's a little more apparent.
Yeah. And the thing is that ampersand isn't really cool looking either. It doesn't really look like an ampersand. I don't know what it looks like. It looks like a little E with a fin on it. And the words dungeons, dragons, like the little fin on the D and the little a little squiggly inside the O. It all looks pretty cool, and it's got this big shadow that looms over the entire text.
Yeah, I believe that's beveling and embossing. So essentially giving that nice 3D effect to it. From a logo standpoint, there is a lot going on visually, but it does give the like fantasy medieval feeling for it. That's
Busy.
the only thing working against it
If
because it has a lot going on for it visually.
I mean, if you have a big artsy fantasy cover with a lot
Hmm.
of things going on the cover already, and then you have this logo on top of it that's also busy, it can just get lost in the sea of whatever's on that cover. So we're going
So
B tier with it, right?
yep, I would definitely go B tier with
B
it.
tier. We like it. We like it, but it's got to be used properly for it to have the fullest of impact. Let us move on to 4th edition.
Still has the fantasy feel to it. They messed with the ampersand again.
They mess with the ampersand every single time.
Hmm.
The O has the little squiggle in it, but this time it's a diamond instead of a squiggle. Is that flames coming up from the bottom, or what is that coming up from the bottom? Shadows, or
Look, it looks like coal, or it could also be like it's a slight gradient with visual texture to it, either making it look like it was singed at the bottom, or maybe like making it look like it's bejeweled in a sense. Where's
maybe?
the cover of a nice embossed book with like plated letters on top of it.
I like that
Hmm.
gold separating line. I like that. What I don't like is that the ampersand again gets lost. It does look like a dragon this time, though. It does look both like an ampersand and a dragon. It just gets lost.
Yeah, and you have the golden drop shadow slash stroke, which or they it looks like they continually added more and more drop shadows just to give it some dimension.
Yeah, there's drop shadow on this, definitely. Yeah.
And it kind of makes me think of like a 1990s video game.
Yeah. It has a 90s video game feel to it. You're right. It's not
as bad as the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons logo, and looks like though it looks like we're stuffing B tier with like almost everything though.
Well, there's a lot of B tier material in this. It's not, it's not our fault that these people keep putting out B tier crap. Now we're into 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons.
I was looking forward to this one because I actually like this one.
You do.
If it's not S tier, I would say A tier.
I think it suffers from a bit of that new age minimalism, especially at the top of every book. It just says D with the ampersand and D, and only at the bottom of the book do they put this logo. But the logo itself, now that I'm looking at it again, it's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Every word.
Yeah, it looks like a torn flag.
So every letter is a serif, but in weird and interesting ways. And then you have an ampersand that hails back to the original ampersand, but it's got a little extra, details to it, too.
Mm-hmm.
And yet...
Where you could actually tell the separation of the head, the body, and the flame.
Yes. I don't have a last thing. You're right. It is a good logo. It's very good.
Mm-hmm.
It's
nice. It's simple, and it gets that fantasy feel to it, especially with the chunky letters and the serifs that it has on it.
If Advanced Dungeons and Dragons is S tier, then this is S tier. I have a special guest star logo here.
Uh-huh.
This is the Dungeons and Dragons logo from the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Oh.
I kind of messed it up a little. Don't ignore this gray little crap coming through here.
Did you accidentally put yourself on brush mode and you accidentally clicked on a few brushes?
I think that's what happened. Yeah.
Oh, it's one of those fake PNGs too, where you're like, "All right, I'm getting a PNG," and you still have that background around it.
Exactly. This is the logo from the movie Dungeons and Dragons, starring one of the Wayans brothers.
I think I saw a Nostalgia Critic review of it, and that's my only exposure to it.
It's not a good movie. I don't think it's a good logo either. It looks like it's steel and brass, but other than that, it's hard to read. The ampersand looks like garbage.
I honestly do think it is a bit overly detailed. One thing I do like about it, though, is that it does keep some some design aspects to it. You could take out the rest of Dungeons and Dragons, the font on that, and it would read D&D. There are some.
Oh wow, you're right. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even notice that. I'm too busy thinking that you could put this on the cover of a romance novel and it would be right at home. It's Dungeons and Dragons of my beating heart. So where are we putting this? D tier, C tier?
A little better than D tier, so I would put it in C tier.
All right, low C tier it is. So that's our list of the main Dungeons & Dragons logos. Do you agree with it? Do you not agree with it? You can comment. Which Dungeons & Dragons logo did we not rate that you thought we should? Hey, share that one too. Matt, thanks for giving us your expertise here with this. We'll catch you later. Goodbye.
Goodbye.